Married Redditors, what usual mistakes do you see younger couples making? Don't expect your partner to be everything you need in life. You each need your own friends, goals, and experiences. And don't give those up for your partner. Resentment grows strong over time. Dumping hobbies. There's no need to do everything together. If one of you dies or you break up, then the other will be lost. Now we have a different problem. The house isn't big enough for all the crap that goes along with our hobbies. Being right is less important than the fact that you love each other. Someday, one of us is going to have to say goodbye to the other. When that happens, every single moment I wasted being angry about minor things will be a huge regret. This is the sort of thing that doesn't really occur to you when you're young and indestructible. Never threaten to split up as a means of achieving your goals. Don't even make light of it. If you're willing to lose the other person, only bring up the idea. It's a pain to get back in once that possibility has been exposed. As I learned from my first marriage, if you are threatening to split up, you're already splitting up. It just takes longer. Different things work for different couples, but I think one of the biggest mistakes younger couples make is not communicating effectively. They might avoid discussing difficult topics, or they might not be willing to compromise. Effective communication is key to a successful relationship. It's almost a cliche at this point to say communication, but it is true. Everything else is secondary. You need to be able to communicate your needs, wants, desires and feelings in a mature way. You don't have to agree on everything, but you have to truly respect the other person's opinion and feelings. Don't hint. Not worth it. Whoa, those flowers are beautiful is not a call to action. I'd really love it if sometimes you picked me up flowers for no reason. It makes me feel super loved, is so much better and clearer. Despite a slew of red signals, falling in love only because you're lonely and suddenly have someone. I've done it before. Those honeymoon period goggles can deceive you into believing you've discovered the one, when you were really looking for someone at the time. I read a thing once that said fall in love when you are ready, not because you are lonely. I'm purposefully trying to be happy in myself and my life before another person joins it at this rate. Don't ever use the D word, divorce, in an argument or otherwise unless you really mean it. Treating the relationship like it has an out weakens it immensely. If you've chosen to commit your lives to one another, then respect the seriousness of that commitment and don't treat it as though any sort of out exists. You're in it no matter what, so you've got to work together and figure it out. Obviously, if crap's that bad, then get out. Don't live in misery. Basically, don't say divorce unless you really intend to file. Confusing a wedding with a marriage. You don't get a better marriage with a bigger wedding. So don't focus so much on what's the perfect song to play before the bride and groom are introduced at the reception. Concentrate on whether you both share the same goals and values. Thinking the other person is going to change for the better once they get married is the biggest mistake. It's like thinking the chicken salad that smells funny when you take it out of the refrigerator is going to taste better after you've eaten the sandwich. Trying to change the other person is the number one mistake I see. I can understand though. It's hard to see potential go to waste, but ultimately, the odds are against anyone changing in the way you'd want them to. I could talk for hours on this, but here's my biggest peeve: not talking before having kids. And I mean talking. Ask questions like, are we prepared to have a child with mental issues? Are we prepared to have a child that requires 24/7 care for 20+ years? What is our specific plans to make our relationship with each other a priority? What do our financials look like before having kids? So many questions should be asked, answered, and planned for before having a child, and too many rush into having kids without giving any of that to single thought. You'll often hear some people say having kids ruins marriages, and this is what they mean. It's not the kid's fault, it's that their parents didn't devote enough time to really figuring out this stuff beforehand. I can't emphasize enough how keeping score is a huge mistake. Couples who always remember who did what chore last and insist it's the other's turn now are doomed to fail. My wife and I don't give a crap who emptied the trash last, or who vacuumed last, or who did the dishes last. If it needs to be done, you step up and do it so that your partner won't have to. If you both take this approach, it will eliminate an awful lot of the stupid things that fester and can grow into bigger problems. related to this, keeping track about what each other spend, within reason, or how many times they go out with friends is disastrous. There will be times when he sees friends many times a month and you do not. Or maybe they buy a kayak. Don't run out and do the something to stay even. I think this sort of score keeping is related to jealousy and it will destroy a relationship. Often, and from experience, younger people do not have the emotional maturity to see things clearly. There's too much selfish behavior and lack of empathy. One person is just trying to get things their way because they want it, while the other is doing the same. It's a fight against each other, when really the fight should be against the problem. Also, a lot of young people, again, from experience, don't even really know who they are yet. There's too much outside influence. It's only with time alone that you really come to terms with yourself. Once you do that, you can more easily find someone who fits with you. Lastly, getting back to the maturity bit, it's harder for most younger people to identify the root of their own behavior. So, you might, for example, hate that your partner will go out without you. You argue, you fight against it, you text them the whole time they're gone. Right? Really what's going on is you're insecure and afraid the moment they are without you that someone else will come along and they will just forget about you. It has nothing to do with them. Self-study will help you out immensely in life. You are so right. I felt it really. That's actually the main problem with the younger couples, that they don't try to understand other. Relationships are all about two individual people. If you're not a good person marrying a good person, you'll struggle. Although the divorce rate is inflated and not actually 50%, it isn't surprising for it to be high. Look around your office and think about what it would be like to be married to people you know. The dude that steals office supplies without caring. The chick that always has something she's a victim of. The guy who is tons of fun but dismisses everyone's ideas. There are a lot of crap people, so there are a lot of crap marriages. That doesn't mean marriage itself is bad. Be nice. Say thank you. Apologize. Seriously, the kindergarten crap is 90% of a good marriage. Also, don't compromise too much. Do that one thing your partner really wants to do that you couldn't care less about, then switch. If you compromise all the time, you're both settling and unhappy. This is another way of saying live a little. You know you're in a good relationship because the best feeling in the world is making them smile, even if it's doing something you're not into, like rollerblading or whatever. Seriously, the kindergarten crap is 90% of a good marriage. This says a lot about what society we live in. Fighting in public. It just makes everyone around them feel awkward and uncomfortable. Learn to keep it inside until you get to a more private area. To expand on this, don't make snarky remarks about your partner in front of other people. After 17 years of marriage, there seems to be 3 big pitfalls to avoid to me. First, pick the right person. You're spending and building your life with this person. You need someone that can be your best friend and that you want to go to bed with. If they are only one of these things, it'll be tough. Second, it's cliche, I know, but communicate is huge. No one is a mind reader, and the sooner the issues are in the open, the smaller they are. Holding stuff and breeds resentment, and what could have been a discussion is now a fight. Respect each other enough to talk and be real with each other. Finally, always remember you are on the same team. You are in this life together. It's you two versus the world. If you know that other person has your back, always, the tough times are a lot less tough. It's okay to go to bed angry. Sometimes it takes time to separate your reaction from your response, and bedtime isn't the time or the place to have heated discussions. Additionally, you are more likely to force a response from your partner in this situation versus letting them process. Take time to process your emotions and reactions. Give your partner the same courtesy, and discuss when both of you are ready. Go to sleep and try again tomorrow. Every day will not be bliss. I just read through the comments and not one person mentioned the most important thing. Do not marry someone just because you're ready to get married. So many people play relationship musical chairs and marry the person they're dating when they graduate. Wait, find the right person and don't settle. Do not marry someone just because you want to get married, is probably a better way to phrase it. Thinking that love is an emotion. It's not. Emotions come and go, and are not worth basing a relationship upon. Feelings will change every day. Love is an action. It's something that you choose to do or not do every day when you wake up. It's deciding to say or do something for no other reason than to show that you love who you're with. And perhaps most importantly, love is hard. Brutally hard. At times. There will be days where you don't even feel like getting out of bed, much less showing someone that you love them. But if you've married a person, that's exactly what you've promised to do, for better or for worse. I hope that younger couples will realize this sooner than I did. Yes, this is what so many people are missing. If you're only with someone because they make you feel good all the time, then it isn't because you love them, it's because you love yourself. Get in the habit of apologizing when you are wrong, even if it's been hours or days since the argument. Sometimes we are so sure of ourselves in the moment and clarity comes way too late. You might be tempted to say, oh whatever, the fight is over anyway, but I found it helpful to let my partner know when I realized I was wrong, even if that realization comes late. Normalizing apologizing to one another also makes it easier to do so in instances where things are still heated. Just because you started an argument thinking A doesn't mean you need to pursue A until the bitter end. If you realize your partner kinda has a point midway through your fight, it's okay to say, you know what, actually you're right and I'm being stupid. I think this is so important. I come from a dysfunctional family and didn't learn the best communication skills. I'm learning to get better with my partner, but sometimes I revert back into toxic patterns unknowingly. I always apologize profusely when I realize that's what I'm doing. I'm grateful my partner is patient and understands that we're both trying our best. Not understanding the damage we do to each other even after we make up. Something can never really be undone or unsaid, and although you may have not really meant it, it will always leave a scar on that person. When we get hurt or really disappointed, we build walls, slowly one you will not be able to get through. Take care with your loved ones and friends. From a story, you can take the nail out, but the hole will remain. Once something is done, it's out there in the world and you can't change what's been done. Assuming their trays will change. Big mistake. I can't tell you how many people I know that thought once we move in they will change, or once we get married they will change, or the worst, once we have kids they will change. These false assumptions just indicate you're not getting what you need. Ignoring it and assuming your partner will change to align with what you want is a huge mistake. Love them for who they are, or you are going to be gravely disappointed when they don't morph into the version of them that you want at some arbitrary milestone. Relationships do not equals control of personality. You're not just marrying your partner, you're also marrying each other's families. Maintaining a marriage is hard enough on its own, but is orders of magnitude harder when contentious relationships with family are involved. Don't go to bed angry. Absolutely go to bed angry. Being tired can amplify whatever issue caused the anger in the first place. It's similar to taking a step back for time to think. I've said it before and I'll say it again, never talk crap about your spouse to other people. I don't care who it is, best friend, parent, sibling. That is between you and your partner. Once you open that door, it's incredibly hard to close it again. I've seen quite a few young couples who seem to want to get married without thinking much about being married. The wedding might be nice, but that shouldn't be the main thing. The main thing should be joining with a person you love to form a family. It's also not just another relationship status for you to post. It's a commitment. Not comprehending that even when you're in a relationship, you still have to strive. Many people appear to suffer from romantic comedy syndrome, in which they place a high value on finding the ideal boyfriend or girlfriend and expect the plot to conclude as soon as the relationship begins. I'm not married yet. I will be though in about 5 months, but I have been in the same continuous relationship for 7 years. My biggest piece of advice: be wary of taking advice from people on your relationship. You may come to your friends or older wiser people with problems in your relationship and ask for help, or they may just offer general advice on what has worked for them. But no matter how much you tell them, they are not going to know the whole story. They won't know what works for you just because they know what has worked for them. Some of this stuff you just have to figure out yourself. People seem to be too scared to hurt their partner. They assume that bringing up an issue isn't worth it because they'll hurt the other and they don't want that. It's best to just continue managing the problem alone in your head or hinting to them to just understand what's going on. Hurting your partner is gonna happen intentionally or not. You're going to experience negative emotions or experiences in life. It's a guarantee. Talk to your partner. Be open. No need for aggression. You can get across that you're angry without raising your voice or resorting to violence. Take a moment or however long you need to have a clear head when raising difficult topics in your relationship. Find time to talk about it. Be honest if something is not working and trying to find a compromise. It should be the two of you versus the problem and not at each other. 100% people have high expectations of the other, usually due to their upbringing and unrealistic TV shows. Discuss your relationship and how it works for you. Don't let other people tell you it's wrong if it genuinely works for you. Our main disagreement is housework. Partner works full time whereas I physically can't. I enjoy housework, but can't do everything, so the brunt of that falls onto me. We have different standards and a language barrier that plays into that. He was recently diagnosed with ADD, so over the last 18 months or so I'd say we've been figuring this all out in layers and finding ways to make it work for us. I don't wake up early and use my limited energy on housework anymore. I don't get angry at him for being himself ultimately. He's not going to have the vigor I have for it because that's not him, but I feel us coming to a place that's more realistic. My house will never be spotless. It'll be lived in because it is. None of my friends or family will be disgusted by what they see. It's a problem I've created in my own head and I'd adjusted my expectations to fit in line with reality. I think couples should be more reflective, honest about their flaws, find different ways to find solutions, and also know their boundaries. If you've pushed, waited, talked, tried and nothing has changed at all, then perhaps know when something is over and has become a detriment to you both instead of what should be a supportive union. Don't go to bed angry is perhaps the worst advice ever. Sometimes you need an opportunity to cool down before you can have a rational discussion. If you stay up late continuing your argument, you're going to say some things you wish you hadn't. Go to bed angry, then discuss when you are both feeling more grounded and less unstable. Also, don't share a blanket. Buy 2 twin blankets that match. IKEA has great duvets with cheap duvet covers with nice patterns where you won't notice that they're 2 separate duvets. Been with my wife for 15 years. Card. Share that blanket. It's a war and everybody must fight it. Staying in a relationship that is not going to last for too long, especially in a toxic relationship, waiting for your partner to change. One of my good friends took 3 years to break up with her alcoholic, cokehead boyfriend because they had been together for so long. She was clinging to the hope he'll one day change. It took her turning 30 to finally be able to break it off for good. And now years later she'll tell you that she wished she had left him 3 years earlier, but instead of traveling, she stayed in a miserable relationship with someone she couldn't travel with. If you set an ultimatum, help your partner achieve it. I know most people say they are bad, but it's if you do X or I leave that it's bad. My wife had a terrible fear of driving, but not driving was massively holding us back as a couple, so I refused to give her the ring till she got a license. I helped her every step of the way and proposed as soon as she took the test. Unfortunately she failed a few times, but I saw she was trying and eventually passed. Now she loves and hates driving, lol. I'm not really married, but what else do you call a 12-year relationship with 4 children in the mix? The common mistake I see young people making is thinking they're marrying the best of their partner when they are actually marrying the worst. Then when reality dawns on them, they can't take it and the relationship fails. Before making that commitment, make an effort to see your partner at their worst: stressed, angry, ugly, tired, lying, drunk, stoned, selfish, whatever. That's the person you'll be living with. If you can take it and love them regardless, then you can make that commitment, and when things get bad, you can say to yourself, I knew exactly who I was marrying. 1. Buying too big of a house for your first house. 2. Spending too much on a wedding and ring instead of the honeymoon. Nothing wrong with a big wedding filled with people you love, but it doesn't have to be insanely expensive. 3. Having children too soon before really getting to experience each other alone. 4. Throwing the divorce word around when arguing. 5. Not communicating and being direct about your feelings and needs in the present. If you really don't have a huge budget to blow for your wedding, I wish more couples would use their wedding funds to purchase their first home and hold the wedding there. The new home will be filled with the people that love and support the new couple on their new journey together. Then we can all see their new housewares from the wedding gift registry. Be straightforward with boundaries. No exceptions. Example, cheating on my BF would be end of relationship. No excuses, no nothing. Also, if you want something, ask. Don't hint. It will fly over their heads. Just ask. Not keeping your own interests, spaces, friends. You need to still be you. We have friends we both get along with the same, but we also have friends that definitely are closer to one of us than the other. Friendships are important. Not having kids soon enough when their relationship starts to get a little rocky. Kids solve most problems. Just kidding. Marrying before they have a battering enough sense of who they even are, let alone who their partner is. Marrying before they've even become who they will be, such that there's not yet even a person they could really know. Without having a handle on those things, there's literally no way to know whether someone is a good partner for you. Plus, if they're not clearly defined as a person in their own right, they start defining themselves in alignment or opposition to the dynamics of their marriage, which isn't a real connection. It's just an agreement. Be a healer to your person. Look to find yourself feeling healed in some way by just being around your person. Ragging on each other for fun should be limited and gentle on any insecurity areas. That is loving. There's no such thing as perfect. Holding your partner to an unrealistic standard will only make you both unhappy. Appreciate them for who they are. Appreciate every little thing they do for you. Appreciate all the efforts. Communicate what you want and what you feel. People aren't perfect, and they are not mind readers. If you want something, communicate it to them. Don't put the burden on your partner to guess what you want. Tell them, and they'll know in the future, and you'll get closer to that they always know exactly what I need feeling. Don't hold back on doing something nice or special just because it's not perfect. Put the effort in, show them that you care and you value and appreciate them. The best things aren't perfect, they are consistent and considerate demonstrations of love and caring. Listen to how your partner feels. Expect that they're not perfect, that they'll have ugly feelings and bad days. Give them the same patience and consideration that you would want for yourself. If something seems to be wrong, ask what's bothering them. Be understanding of their feelings. You want them to feel safe and loved with you, not like they have a certain standard to maintain to keep your love. I'm not married anymore, but I used to be, and these are the things I learned and carry forward in my healthy long-term relationship now. Marrying too young. When you marry at 30 or near that, you've already had your fun and your parties and you're wiser and calmer. Marrying young can work well for some, but many of us are too emotional to handle small arguments which escalate to fights and hate. Having kids don't fix problems. Things aren't being discussed. Don't hold it in. The one with whom you can be completely open and honest, and who does not run, is the one for you. Do not be afraid to go to couples therapy. It's really easy to let disagreements get in the way of your relationship, and an unbiased voice can make all the difference in the world. As a Mormon, the biggest mistake I see them make is what I call the soulmate fallacy. They will mistake the normal, healthy desire to get laid with God's divine will. Nearly every week in church I'll see some newlywed couple barely in their 20s going on and on about how God helped them find their soulmate. That kind of batshit magical thinking ends up in the most profound kind of disappointment, and inevitably you'll see them 5 years later, miserable, with 4 kids, a mountain of debt, and more than likely, desperately wishing they were divorced. You don't have a soulmate, kids. It's silly, juvenile wished arrangement. There are a million other people out there that you could be just as happy with, and probably happier. Hanging out with your significant other all the time. It's a bad idea and many fall into it. You need separate lives and a life together. Putting children ahead of the relationship. Caring for your children is important, but not at the expense of your relationship. Don't spend all your time and energy running after your kids to the point that you have little time for your partner or your social life. If If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.